Hello, this is Crystal Racing with another video, and today I'm going to talk about the 2022 Singapore Grand Prix where Sergio Perez won after a lengthy investigation over at least 3 safety car breaches, I think twice for dropping more than 10 car lengths behind a safety car, and the other one was pulling up alongside the safety car. In the end, he was handed a 5-second penalty for dropping 10 car lengths behind a safety car, but he still wins the race. And for me, it's 10 out of 10. Beat Leclerc off the line, did exactly what he needed to do, and of course, when he was told that he was under investigation, he immediately went on. He opened up a 7.5 second gap to win by a comfortable margin at a checkered flag, and with the penalties and the investigation stripping him of adding 5 seconds onto his race time, he still won the race by a couple of seconds. Second place, Charles Leclerc, 9 out of 10. Lost the race after being beaten by Perez off the start line. And frankly, he spent far too much of the race overcooking his tyres, getting too aggressive, not really managing his race well. Thankfully, though, his teammate Sainz didn't really do anything to really put him under pressure. 8.5 for Sainz. Next up in 4th place is Lando Norris, 10 out of 10. Survived all the problems today. And not only that, finished half a minute ahead of Ricciardo after, of course, the last safety car, which of course came out in, it made that. It opened up a 30-second gap in the last 25 laps or so over Ricciardo. Was it 25 laps? 15 laps? He completely wrecked Ricciardo again. But the fact of the matter is, of course, he also qualified 6th, whilst Ricciardo was down in 16th. Frankly, Norris is honestly one of the best young drivers on the grid right now. Finished just 21 seconds behind race winner Perez as well. 5th place, Daniel Ricciardo, 9 out of 10. Great drive after starting from 16th place, but he finished 32 seconds behind Ricciardo. That is not Ricciardo, Norris, I beg your pardon. That is such a huge gap to finish behind your teammate, especially considering they were close together with 20 laps to go. Lance Stroll, 10 out of 10, my personal driver of the day. Out-qualified Vettel, out-raced Vettel, finished just over 3 seconds behind Ricciardo in an impressive drive and kept his nerve under pressure, whilst Vettel, of course, got beat by Verstappen. Verstappen, 7th place, 7 out of 10. Very unlucky that he was forced to abandon his final qualifying lap where apparently he was a second faster than everyone else, but because there wasn't enough fuel in the car, he was forced to park his car up to avoid a penalty, what could have been a quite severe penalty, which could have left him even further down than 8th place on the starting grid. As it was, though, he got in a collision early on with Magnussen, and then, of course, on the restart, he locked his brakes up when trying to get past Norris, and then, to make matters worse, he was forced to pit for new tyres, and he had to go all the way down to P14, and whilst it was a great comeback drive, frankly, it was a bit poor by Max's standards, which I have to say, frankly, he's still the best driver in F1 by my eyes, but today was an off day, but not entirely his fault. 8th place, Sebastian Vettel, 9 out of 10 in his final race here at Singapore. He is, of course, the most successful race driver around Marina Bay with 5 wins in his 14 races. Was it 14, 15, 13 races competed here now? Yeah. Of course, he was he did come here as the reigning race winner since, of course, the last race held here was back in 2019 when he raced for Ferrari. No chance of the same heroics here for Aston Martin this weekend, but nonetheless, he did a marvellous job, albeit beaten by his teammate Stroll, who is a king of street tracks, along with, of course, the likes of Perez. But Vettel can be very pleased with his efforts as he enters, of course, his last 5 or 6 races as an F1 driver. Lewis Hamilton, 6 out of 10. Looked up and whacked his car in the barriers. Was lucky to get his car going again, but Frankly, his attempt to overtake Vettel towards the end was very poorly misjudged as he went offline onto the damp parts of the track, and frankly, he threw 8th place away, ended up with 9th place, just in all in vain just to try and get 7th place. Just 2 points Mercedes, as of course Ferrari now managed to open the gap back up again in P2, but of course, frankly, I mean, Mercedes don't really deserve more than P3 considering how poor their car's been. 10th place, Pierre Gasly, the final points finisher. I know this seems harsh, but it's got to be only 6 out of 10 for me. I have to say, considering he started P7 and considering the problems that did hit Max and Lewis during the race, as well as plenty of retirements to the 2 Alpines in particular, which, I mean, he wants to join Alpine next year, but yet they're having mechanical problems left, right and centre. I am really concerned now for Pierre. Good drive, but he did lose places a bit too easy towards the end. Not that great if you think about it, but nevertheless, he kept his head, he kept his car pointing the right direction, considering the fact that this cut AlphaTauri is, I think, is only, I don't know where they are. Where are they in the championship? I really need to look, I'm afraid. Oh no, I'm really sorry about this. I mean, are they in 8th place, 7th place? I've got to look at the standings. I'm sorry, I'm going to look at my phone. P9. Wow. Turns out to be they were actually overtaken for P8 many races ago. I didn't even realise this, but of course that result does bring them back up on the same number of points as Haas, who of course both Haas and AlphaTauri now have 34 points. As the, although of course both teams are miles clear of course Williams was. Aston Martin of course managed, of course because of today's result, now to have leapt all the way up to 7th place due to, of course, the 10 points that both Stroll and Vettel scored. So actually, AlphaTauri were in 8th place coming in today's race, but of course, thanks to Aston Martin's amazing double points finish, both Haas and AlphaTauri drop a place downwards. Bottas, first of the non-point score, is 6 out of 10, out-qualified by Joe again. I mean, I know at Baku he reported there was a fundamental problem with the car, and it has to be said, he doesn't seem to have recovered ever since that race for some reason. I mean, the last time he scored points was, of course, the Canadian Grand Prix. He has now not scored a single point for 8 consecutive races. This season is now getting away from Bottas. He still holds a place in the top 10, thanks, of course, to the fact that Ricciardo is still down. It's still only got 29 points for the season. Of course, coming into this race, Ricciardo only had 19. Magnussen, P12, 7 out of 10. Was unlucky to get hit by Max at the start, but of course, the Haas's terrible pace meant he couldn't really challenge for points. Even with all the retirements, Haas have now got, I think, the worst corner grid, to be honest. Mick Schumacher 6 out of 10, got hit by Russell, couldn't do anything, but he was beaten for pace by Magnussen today, and his seat remains under huge threat, to be honest. It doesn't say, I mean, he's only had 2 points finishes all season long compared to 5 points finishes for Magnussen. And in 14th place, and my personal reject of today, it's George Russell, 4 out of 10. Yeah, he had to start in the pit lane due to, of course, changing mechanical components, but what the hell was he doing driving into Mick Schumacher? It was just so needless, man. No need. What was he doing? I just don't get it. And, of course, that means that finally is a run of finishing in the top 5 whenever he's finished the race finally comes to an end. He does remain in P4 in the championship though, but he's now only 1 point ahead of Carlos Sainz and just 33 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton. And as for Lando Norris, he becomes the first driver to crack 100 points this season. Congratulations to him. The first driver in the midfield, I mean, obviously. Next up, of course, is the retirees. First retiree, Yuki Tsunoda, 5 out of 10. I think he got out qualified by Gasly. He was not in the points when he crashed, but come on, Yuki, really? I mean, if you carry on like this, you're all going to risk a disqualification from this crystal scoreboard. Next up, Esteban Ocon, 4 out of 10, got knocked out in Q1. And he wasn't doing that much better in the race when his engine broke. That Alpine, I mean, if Gasly is going to join Alpine next season, I am going to have a massive headache next season. Not only is Gasly going to be beefing with Ocon, but the team's reliability is going to really tick me off. Alex Albon, 7 out of 10. Yes, I know he crashed out by himself, but to come back after having had surgery for appendicitis and then apparently having to be sent into emergency due to a respiratory issue, I mean, just to be driving here at Marina Bay at all is impressive. Fernando Alonso, 8 out of 10, qualified in the top 10, unlike his teammate, but had an engine issue much earlier on in the race. Nothing he could do. And then, of course, the first 2 retirees of the race, Nicholas Latifi, as you all know, he is disqualified. And, of course, for that incident where he shoved Ganyu Zhou in a war, it justifies why he deserves disqualification, because if I was allowed to score him, I would just give him 0 out of 10. I'm frankly honest. He's a nice guy, but he is not F1 material. I've had enough, really. I don't really want to see... I mean, honestly, if it was up to me, with only 5 races left to go in Latifi's F1 career, I would just tell him just to leave F1 altogether and give Nico Hulkenberg a chance, or give Nick Freeze the keys for the rest of the season. And as for Zhou Guanyu, yeah, I am not going to give him any scores today because that incident was not his fault. And of course, it both went out before lap 7, so... And of course, he did out-qualify his teammate, but what on earth he would have achieved had he not been slammed into the wall, I don't know. But, yeah, that's the end of the video. Of course, other drivers who also risked disqualification, I mean, coming in today, I mean, Ricciardo and Lance Stroll were under huge risk of disqualification, but today's result of 5th and 6th for both drivers takes a huge pressure off them, and it does mean Tsunoda is risking the potential of being disqualified and being put in a face-off between him and Latifi for the Reject of the Season award. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.